Want to know the most important key to a successful large-scale video or photo shoot? It is all about proper pre-production planning. I think that was some alliteration, but let's go ahead and jump into it. So for all my PR and marketing people out there, I'm here to help you. I know y'all got the big shoot coming up, right? I've learned from my 10 years of producing photo shoots, video shoots that have, 20 or 30 actors, 15 or 20 people in the crew. I've learned that successful content doesn't just happen. It happens because of a lot of work that we have to do before we ever pick up the camera. In this video, I want to share with you some of my do's, don'ts, and some of my steps for making large-scale video and photo shoots run smoothly. All right, so the first step is centralizing all of your materials into one location. If you're like me, we've planned events, marketing campaigns, video shoots, event activations with multiple email threads. And if you know like I know, that is an absolute nightmare. Stuff is all over the place. But much of that nightmare can be avoided through centralizing all of our communication and materials into one location, especially that internal communication between your team members, right? So a couple of recommendations based upon my past experience for centralizing all of our materials into one location. So the first one is Milanote. Number 2, ClickUp. 3, Basecamp. And last but not least, Slack. I've used all of these apps for my pre-production and planning, my favorite being, of course, ClickUp. You've probably seen other videos of me talking about ClickUp. But for each production we do at On Media, we create a ClickUp project where we house things like call sheets, schedules, casting lists, location, pictures, etc., all in one place. Then all of our internal team communications takes place inside of that task, inside of ClickUp, to keep everything centralized and keep everybody focused and organized on the production that we're planning. The next tip that I have in the process of planning large photo and video shoots is all about location scouting. You do not want to show up to a location on the day of filming with 50 people about to arrive and then find out there's no working restroom or there's not ample parking. Before booking any venue for filming, I always do a location scout and tour the facilities myself. I look for things like parking and how easy it is to get people and gear to the location. I hate when there's parking garages and steps involved, right? I also look for windows to see which way the sun is hitting the venue, because that could affect our lighting, right? Not to mention, I check to see if there's some type of green room that talent and staging and equipment can be held. And one of the big things I look for is outlets and ample electric power. Back in January of 2023, we were set to film a scene at an outdoor pavilion in Jacksonville, Florida. The pavilion had power outlets all around, but none of them worked. So we called the city of Jacksonville to see if they could get them turned on for us, and they told us that they did not turn on power at that park. But because we did that location scouting trip prior to our filming, we were able to reserve a generator and have all the power we needed when it came to do the filming. Now that's the power of location scouting. But anyway, pro tip, if you're wondering where to find locations for your productions, a good place to start is within your network, the people that you know, right? Oftentimes, to my surprise, 50% of the time, someone in my contacts has access to the type of location I'm needing for a video or photo shoot. And if my personal network search comes up empty, my go-to place to find an awesome filming location is peerspace.com. Remember that, guys, peerspace.com. One of the main reasons I like to use peerspace.com is because the site is geared towards productions, right? Therefore, the host knows what to expect before we even show up. There won't be any hidden fees for filming in a location when you're trying to use a traditional Airbnb or something of that nature. You can have hosts mad at you, things like that. I've personally used Peerspace from locations in Seattle, Washington, all the way down to Miami, Florida, and everywhere in between, and I'm sure it can work for you too. Next, we have sourcing talent. When it comes to producing and planning bigger video and photo shoots, the bigger the shoot most likely means the more people you're gonna need. More people to help capture the content, and more actors, models, and talent, of course, right? Now, how do we find this talent? Should you go and ask your colleagues at the office to stand in and act? Yeah, that could work. How about asking some friends and family to help you out? Yep, that could work too. However, when it comes down to having speaking lines at a commercial or needing that spokesperson for a product ad or just needing that beautiful smiling face that's model and magazine worthy, it's probably best to hire some professionals. Now, how do we do that? Thanks for asking. From my experience, your best option can be to reach out to local talent agencies and build a relationship, or you can do what I do, and I like to use casting websites like Backstage.com. We just completed a 3-day large content session with Snyder Senior Living. We needed about 30 models to be staff and also fake residents at the facilities. And Backstage.com was our main go-to to find talent. I roughly pay about $10 a month to have the ability to reach out to any talent that has their profile listed on Backstage.com. I also use Backstage to post online casting calls, which allows talent to apply for roles that I set with certain criteria. So when I'm sourcing on-camera talent, I have learned it's all about establishing parameters for the gig with the potential talent and the initial message that we send. In that initial message, always include what the rate's gonna be, the exact requirements of that role, like wardrobe, things like that, what's the location, what's the date, what's the time, as well as what the content will be used for in terms of like usage rights, right? By establishing all of those items up front, I have seen it reduce any potential misunderstandings with the potential talent on the back end. Pro tip, when using on-camera talent, whether it is someone in your organization or not, it is best practice to use a simple talent release form to ensure you have the express written consent to use their likeness and the content you're producing. So the next step is probably one of the most important steps in your pre-production planning process from my experience. No schedule, or even worse, a poor schedule, will leave your production team and your talent scratching their heads and not knowing what to do next, and will have your company leaving a very expensive video shoot without capturing all the shots that it needed to. And we definitely do not want that. So how do we make sure that none of that happens? So one of the things I like to do is always overestimate my times for things like load-in, setup, and transitioning from scene to scene. I like to base my schedule off of how long it took to set up similar shoots in the past. But if this is my first time setting up this type of shoot, I will definitely ask for help. For me, the first time I planned a large-scale production for a documentary shoot, the schedule was an absolute disaster. I didn't build in any grace of contingency for things not going exactly according to plan. So when we hit traffic on one of the locations, or when we had a large piece of equipment fall and we had to change some things around, it completely blew my schedule out the window, and we arrived to our last location nearly 90 minutes late. And we had time and other people waiting on us, so that was not good, right? So now I always overestimate on my setup times, okay? So for example, if I know my crew or my MUA needs at least an hour for something, I'll block out 90 minutes. I've also learned not to be too overly aggressive with how much content we want to capture during, say a one-day schedule. Overpacking schedules in the past hasn't made the shoot more productive. Instead, it has oftentimes turned out rushed and less creative. So my advice, if I think a shoot's gonna need 2 days, I'll see if we can get a budget for 3 days, right? Because we don't want to try to cram things in and try to be more productive. We wanna make sure that we are as creative and as planned as possible for every scene, every shoot, each day. Pro tip to always say, use paper schedules for your call sheets and things like that. I know we wanna save the trees, but having the ability to write notes on the paper or easily share it with someone without taking out a distraction device, a cell phone, has really helped me with being on set. So if you can't, print out your schedules, print out your call sheet, and print out your pre-production planning before you get to the shoot. Here's the last thing. So you've planned this big shoot, you've done a great job, you've been everybody's main point of contact. But let me tell you this, do you know what's gonna happen at the end of the day once everybody's done? Let me tell you if you don't know. So you hire like 30 people to be talent, you got like 20 plus crew members who's been working for 12 hours a day. Well, guess what's gonna happen at the end of the day? They're gonna come bombard you for payment, right? So make sure that you pre-write out your checks, that you have a spreadsheet with names as well as who get paid what, right? This is a winning strategy that you should do prior to ever coming to the film day. And pro tip, if you have crew or on-camera talent coming for multiple days, I like to pay people after each day. I never pay someone their full amount if they haven't worked all of those days just yet. Also, if you are not paying in cash, which means you're paying by Zelle, check, electronic transfer, etc., these are all documented forms of payment, so I would highly suggest that you get everyone that's not a full-time member of your organization or company to complete a contractor W-9. And last thing, this could have been an email. Yes. But no, not really. And what do I mean by that? Always like to have a briefing meeting before any large production. I agree that we live in a time where we probably have a few too many virtual meetings. However, when it comes to coordinating large media productions with budgets on the line, lots of moving parts, and 20, 30, 40, 50 people involved, having a meeting to get everyone on the same page, in my opinion, is very crucial. So once location, shooting schedule, and logistics are confirmed, I like to hold a virtual meeting to update everyone on the game plan and ensure that we have effectively planned everything in a way that no one is confused or have questions, right? And that what I propose, I want to make sure that what I propose is feasible based upon my team's experience and expertise. And final pro tip, not only do I like to have one big briefing meeting with everyone, I also like to have standing meetings a couple weeks prior to the production with, say, the marketing director, the PR person, or major contributors on the crew. For example, with one of our recent photo shoots with Sonida Senior Living, each week for about 3 to 4 weeks prior to the production, myself, our associate producer, our lead photographer, and the director of marketing for Sonida had weekly check-in meetings for about 15 to 30 minutes each Tuesday to ensure planning progress was going smoothly and that there were no gaps in the planning process. And boy, did they make all the difference. With that being said, planning and producing large productions can be challenging with a lot of responsibilities. However, I've seen the difference in proper pre-production planning and improper planning. Trust me, you will want to properly plan. If you or someone you know is looking to plan a large-scale production and may need some guidance, feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to help.